that my dad has been asking a lot these past few days is, what is the fault of a prophet? What is the fault of a prophet? I don't know if it's a question in the Bible, but it feels like it's a it's a question from the Bible. I don't know. What's the fault of a prophet? And we always answer is when the prophet does not say what God has sent him to say. Yes. What's the fault of a prophet? Is when the prophet does not say morning, how are you? Kijena. Oh, taking down. Does not say what God has sent him to say. Another question that my mom asked me that just busted my head. This, I think, 2 nights ago when we were having our evening devotion was, pay that thing that you used to do in your phone and send it out to people. Talk about God. Do you still do it? I'm like, no. She said, why? I said, sometimes data, sometimes my battery, I just gave flimsy excuses, which was legit. Because true, without data, this thing no fit go anywhere, you know. And she was like, okay, that's valid, but don't give the devil a foothold. I'm like, yes, ma. She said, you don't know how many people's lives you touch. Me, I don't know what entered her that day, but she was very encouraging. So this is me coming back from wherever it is I've been to say, welcome back to your favorite Christian community. My name is Bedi Manok and I am your host. I probably have said it before. I'm going to say it again. I don't care again. I don't have the best gadgets. I don't. There's the sound of everything. Like once I'm filming, there's the sound of everything in my background and you can't hear it. But what's the fault of a prophet? Is when the prophet does not say what God has sent the person to say. That's what I'm going to keep saying. Yes. Give me a minute. For the longest time, I was supposed to film a video about Matthew, the tax collector. Today, I'm going to film this video. However, it comes out, that's how you're going to receive it. In fact, this week I've been down, and my downness has taught me a lot. I was on drip on today's Sunday, right? I was on drip on Thursday. For the first time in my life, I've never been on drip. Never. If I've ever told you that I've been on drip, it's a lie. If I've told you that I've been admitted before in the hospital, it's a lie. If I've told you I've been on bed rest, it's a lie. Because I know this is my life. Hmm? But I don't know. I weigh 6 cups. Like Anna. Hmm. If I've told you, because me, I know this is my life. I have told plenty people a lot of things because I wanted them to pity me, or I don't know, especially in secondary school. There are so many things that I've said or I've shared with people back in secondary school because I was looking for pity. All those things is trash, it's a lie. I've told some people that I was a twin, my twin died. Oluwa, Jesus. Plenty lies that I've told like this because I was looking for maybe friends or whatever it is. But for the first time in my life, I collect drip. I was even wondering before they put the drip, I say, is it painful? I just did check my brain. Is it gonna pain me if this drip is lasting 5 hours? Because it was 2 bags of the water. Ah, my BP went down to 60/50. Ah, I'm a sign, I'm a wonder. I'm a living testimony like this. So I cannot be quiet. No, we're not gonna do that. For the longest time, I've been thinking of filming a video about Matthew the tax collector. If you have watched the first part series of The Chosen, you would understand that when God or when Jesus called him, he was not loved, you know. As a tax collector, he wasn't really one that, you know what? Let me not do head knowledge for you people. I actually jotted some things down, so I'll just go get the book and then I'll probably read from it. But you see this Matthew tax collector message, you hear it. So wait for it. Give me a minute. This is the book. Can you see it? This is the book, yes. So this is what I'll be reading from. Yeah, I said for the longest time I have been led, or I just kept feeling led to share from Matthew the tax collector, or to share about the Matthew the tax collector. I don't know who this is going to help. It has helped me. It has helped me. So I believe this is going to be a message for someone. There are three questions that is it three? One, two, three, four questions actually that God helped me to pull out from the life of Matthew the tax collector. And this is just strictly from The Chosen, right? Watching The Chosen. Just there. It really just you know what? I'm just going to read it the way it is. This video is not perfect. I'm not aiming at perfection. Though in my brain I want it to be perfect. But the perfection thing is just not working. So I'll read everything the way it is. Um the Chosen helped me understand that Matthew was not loved. He wasn't even Matthew the beloved, but he was loved and chosen by God through Jesus' selection of him, right? So that's the first thing I saw. Now, the first question here is, how does it feel to have Jesus forgive you and others not able to? How does it feel to have Jesus forgive you and then others not able to forgive you for something that you have done? You probably have asked for forgiveness from them. Maybe they just answer you or they don't even answer you, because when we watch the first part of The Chosen, I think season 1, you would understand that, especially Peter, it took Peter a hard time to wait till they stop. It took Peter a really hard time to to forgive Matthew, when he asked Jesus. I think here's the question. When Peter talked about how many times he should forgive someone, 7 or 70 times, 7 times, Matthew was actually on his mind. That's according to Chosen. Because we see how Jesus was answering him and they were playing back some scenes where Matthew just really messed up and I want to say incorporate, how did he talk him? He borrowed for Peter. Peter almost lost his job and all of those things. So the first question is, how does it feel to have Jesus forgive you and clean you and choose you and love you? But then the people you now have to live with, because when Matthew was chosen, he was one of the disciples and he had to live with the other disciples, or he had to move with them, walk with them. Matthew was not even, wait, Matthew was not even he wasn't even loved by his parents like that, because I remember Alphaeus disowning Matthew. He's like, don't call me father, call me Alphaeus, and something like that. It's not easy. So that's the first thing, right? That's the first question from the life of Peter. How does it feel to have Jesus forgive you, but then the people you have to live with have not been able to forgive you? That's the first question. The second question is, how does it feel to have to live among people you have offended after the Lord transforms you? It's easy to offend someone and not really have to stay with the person, right? But now you've offended the person before, kabaruma mtum, and then the Lord transforms you, or the Lord is transforming you, and you have to live in the midst of the people that you have offended. How does it feel? These are just questions that I really would want you to answer me. How does it feel? This cup, Abinahin. How does it feel to live among people that you offended? Bad offense. almost cost them their lives. How does it feel to live among these people? The next question is, what do you think it will cost you as a person to follow Jesus? Yeah. The next question, what do you think it will cost you as a person to follow Jesus? Bro, what do you think is going to cost you to follow Jesus? For Matthew, it cost him his dog and his relationship with Gaius, or his relationship with Gaius was at risk for deciding to follow Jesus. And it wasn't that he was going to gain by default the absolute love and trust from the other disciples. These things are hard though, when we look at them critically. The next question is, what are you struggling to forgive yourself of that God has already, sorry, what are you struggling to forgive yourself of that God has already forgiven you? Some days ago, I was watching, it was not some days ago, it was last week. I was watching an interview by someone, and there was something she said that just stood out for me. She said, guilt says I did something wrong, but shame says I am wrong. Like I am the wrong thing. I am the problem. Some people will say, you are the problem. Sometimes you even look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm the problem. You're not the problem. And for the longest time, yeah, if you see when Matthew came back, oh God, I just wish you watched The Chosen. If you've not watched The Chosen, this is a knock on your door to go and watch Chosen. You see how when Matthew came back, his father and mother, when he now followed Jesus, and he's like, yeah, he used to think that he's the problem. He used to think when he was blah, 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 but he's not the problem. You're not the problem. The problem is the problem. One of the things I've also been learning recently is that I'm not married, right? But I've been studying a lot about marriage and stuff, because marriage is something I would want to do eventually. And most of the things I'm hearing about marriages these days is just not nice. It's not nice. You have 3,000 people surrounding you, and maybe just two or three people are telling you, don't mind them. Marriage is a good thing. You will enjoy your marriage. Blah, blah, blah. Some people say, I'll refer, I'll read this, I'll read that. So I've been going back to the Bible to be like, if this is what I'm going to do, I really need to know what I'm going into. Yes, especially with the person I'm going into. Like, hello, is it going to change on the way? Let's do a background check on all those people whose own have not worked. How were they and how are they now? What's going on? What changes? Is it that there's a topic under marriage that once you get to that topic, everything about you has to change? Do you have to wear a new personality? I don't know, but I've been doing a lot of study about God's intention for humans, for a man and a woman. When the Bible says one and one become one. One plus one become one, sir. How does that add up? What is marriage? Who gets married? What qualifies one to be married? What was God's intention? And all of those things. I've been I've been studying all of that. And then I have been, this video feels like it's everywhere. It's really a funny comeback video after a long time, and here you have it. I'm uploading this video and I'm not putting it as private, it's going as public. Yes, this is my book. Let me see. He was used by the Romans and hated by his parents and people. He didn't experience love, but Jesus saw him, chose him, and loved him. Isn't it a good thing that he looks past my sin and guilt and shame and poured his love? You know, I'm the one that God has shown mercy. You know, we listen to songs and we just think people are just singing. We don't know that this song is a journey. People are really in, incorporating their journeys into songs, and really when you check, you're gonna see that you're also that person that God has, He has looked beyond all your trash. I don't know if I've said it in this video because I've been recording and deleting. Jesus is a trend now, and everybody's hopping on that trend. That's why I'm very careful on the kind of things I listen to on social media. If I want to run away from social media, I select the kind of people I listen to. If I'm listening to Jackie Hillberry and Preston Berry, if I scroll past, and I see video on Jackie Hillberry and Preston, I will listen to it. If I see on one random somebody, I will not listen to it. You know, these days, my respect for people have been running down. Yes, it have been running down. Because as I said, Jesus is becoming a trend, and people are just hopping on this trend. You turn left and turn right and see that everybody's suddenly a Christian. Everybody has something to say. Everybody has studied the Bible. God has revealed something to everybody. One passage, 330 revelations about it. Wow, that's really amazing. But this is not me trying to say that God doesn't have the power to do all of these things. This is me trying to say, please, before you digest everything, it's very easy to hear. But to unhear what you've heard, that thing's gonna be very hard. Hard. It's going to be very hard. So be careful, be careful, little ear, what you hear. Gung, gung, gung. Because and I think the reason why people think, oh, marriage is this, marriage is this, marriage is this, because what I've been hearing. Because most of the people that are even telling me, that marriage, they are not married. They have never been married. They are not even divorcees. They have never been married, but they have the worst advice to give you about marriage. So oh, be careful to hear what you hear. Yes, make sure you're reading the Bible. And alongside reading the Bible, read the works of people that, read books about people that have really journeyed with God. You've seen evidence choke. You see that this person, really, I really want to read this person. You know, for me, I say Jackie and Preston because um I've I've been following them for a very long time, and they actually live out what they preach. So you listen to people like that, you read their books, and you're like, yeah, somehow I really feel like I know this person. That's why for me, part of the friendships that I, part of the, a lot of my friends now are people that I've journeyed with. You know, if if I, yeah, this video feels like it's everywhere. If I if I if I give you some kind pieces of information about my life, if I share, if there are certain things you know about me right now, it means that there's a level of trust that I have for you, and I've watched you closely. Does that make sense? This video feels like it's everywhere. Sincerely, this is a good comeback, a very good comeback, and I'm so going to post this video. Sure, I will so post this video. I will post this video. What's the fault of a prophet? The fault of a prophet is if the prophet did not give the message that God have given him. Yes. Whatever you think about this video is absolutely correct. I have zero to zero energy to come up improving otherwise. I've been sick almost the whole of this week. So getting back on my feet just feels, it feels like, oh, I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength, because it's true. But be careful with the kind of all things you can do. Ah, how are you?